Hi, Aaron Brown here. Today I wanted to talk about The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, a book by Patrick Lencioni. Pat is considered to be one of the world's leading experts on organizational health and high-functioning teams. He's written multiple best-selling books. This book in particular is an excellent read, and I would strongly encourage, if you haven't read it, then you read it. If you've read it, I'd encourage you to reread it every couple of years, because there's such gold woven into this book that's going to help your organization reach its greatest potential. So Patrick's claim is that without a high functioning team, that you'll never reach your full potential, and you won't have that competitive advantage because you can buy or copy anything else any other company can do, whether it's IP, intellectual property, whether it's assets, whether it's recruiting people. But to build a team is something that has to be cultivated. You can't buy that. That's something that takes time to develop. And he says there's 5 basic components of what makes a healthy or high functioning team. And he uses a pyramid as his paradigm. And at the bottom layer of that pyramid, you have trust, or in the case of a dysfunctional team, lack of trust. In the second layer, you have safe conflict or lack of safe conflict. The third layer is a lack of buy-in, or on the positive, buy-in. The fourth would be a lack of accountability. And the fifth would be inattention to results, or lack of focus on group results. And so these are the 5 layers. And what we see in organizations, and I'm hearing, talking to organizations on a daily basis with leaders around the globe, and what I'm hearing is that it's very commonplace to experience dysfunctions at each of these layers. And the good news is that you can change it. And you can't change it instantly, but you can start turning the ship quickly if you know how to do it. And so let's talk about lack of trust. We're not talking about the kind of trust that comes from being around people for a long time and be able to predict what they're going to do, what we call predictive trust. We're talking about the trust that says, I'm willing to be vulnerable in front of you. I'm willing to state my weaknesses. I'm willing to ask for help if I need it. I'm willing to say I made a mistake. That's the kind of trust we're talking about. If you're around people that do that, you're a lot more willing to raise your hand when something's not right, and then lead into the next dysfunction or attribute of a highly functioning team, which is safe conflict. If you're willing to engage in safe conflict, you can get into ideological debate without it turning into character assassination, or for many organizations, they just avoid conflict altogether. He makes the claim that far too many businesses engage in way too little conflict. And I've seen that over and over with organizations. People are afraid of either the political ramifications, what it means for their job security, or how it might make them look, and any backlash there might be. So when you engage in safe conflict, when you have a team that can work together and say what they really think and how they really feel, you can solve problems and innovate a heck of a lot faster. Next, if you can do that, then you can work towards the middle layer, which is buy-in. Why we need buy-in, obviously, is because if leaders and their teams are not bought into solutions or agreements that have been made, then ultimately what they're not going to do is put their best foot forward. And they may feign agreement, or in a perfect world, they would just outright refuse to participate. But in reality, most leaders won't do that. What they'll do is feign agreement, or they'll get compliance, but they won't get commitment. And so that's one of the worst things that you can have in an organization, because if you don't get commitment, you don't get buy-in, and you don't have clarity and closure on what you're committing to, then you can't get to the next level, which is accountability. We know, everyone knows, they've seen people who are unaccountable, or organizations who are unaccountable. You can't get it. You can't get done what you could get done otherwise, and you end up being a fraction of your potential. So accountability, real simple, right? We don't tend to do that well, is hold people and organizations accountable. Lastly, inattention to group results or the greater good. If you are confused by this, it's because a lot of people would say, well, what else would they pay attention to if not the results? People pay attention to their own career, their own compensation, to their own individual team or division or department, but not to the collective group result or the common good. And if you don't do that, again, you'll never reach the potential of the organization. And so this is a quick summary of the 5 dysfunctions. I hope this is helpful to you. Again, so powerful. encourage you to read it. And if you recognize any of those attributes in your organization, feel free to reach out. We're happy to help. Have a great day.